The roar of flames tore through the night, shattering the silence. Thick smoke poured in, clawing at my throat. I bolted to the window and froze. My motorcycle, my pride and joy, was being swallowed by fire, burning to ashes right in front of my house. The scorching heat blasted my face. My bare feet trembled on the cold stone. Before I could even react, a sharp burst of laughter pierced the air. Under the dim streetlight, there they stood, raising their wine glasses, clinking them in smug celebration. "Learn to fall in line," a voice sneered, dripping with contempt. Even now, in my dreams, I still can't believe my simple life stumbled into something this bizarre. Let me tell you how my story got wrecked by the HOA. Has anything like this ever happened to you? Leave a comment with the number 9 if you're ready to dive into this tale with me. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel to join me for the tense twists still waiting ahead. Wishing you a peaceful day. My name's Torrin Rexford. I'm 47, a state police officer born and raised in Stillwater, Nevada, where desert winds used to sing me to sleep every night. My job? Keeping those endless roads out of the hands of lawless punks, protecting folks from the chaos of the world out there. 11 months ago, I moved into Sagebrush Haven, hoping for a quiet spot to unwind after long days facing danger. But in the stillness of this night, I realized I'd been dead wrong. The crackling of fire ripped me out of sleep. At first, I thought it was a dream, maybe a cozy night by a snapping campfire or a blazing summer day with smoke drifting by. But then the thick, choking smoke flooded through my window, burning my nose. I jolted awake in a panic. My chest tightened, breath catching as I threw off the blankets and stumbled to the window. What I saw out there stopped me cold. My motorcycle, the state-issued bike, the symbol of the mission I've chased, was being devoured by flames right at my driveway. Hungry tongues of fire flared up, tearing into every metal detail, leaving charred streaks across the ground. I raced to the door, hands shaking as I fumbled for the fire extinguisher, but deep down I knew the blaze was too fierce. It was already beyond saving. Stepping outside, the heat slammed into my face. My bare feet hit the icy stone. My heartbeat pounded in my ears, drowning out everything as I stared at the smoldering wreckage before me. Beneath the shock, a raw fury ignited, wild and unstoppable. Just then, laughter broke through, sharp, mocking sounds slicing the air. I whipped around. A group stood under the hazy glow of a street lamp on their pristine lawn, wine glasses in hand, toasting like they'd just won a prize. My fists clenched, rage surging as I recognized them. It was the Sagebrush Haven HOA board, the self-appointed overlords of this place. Lenora Strathmore, their smug chairman, stood in the middle, muttering something before tossing me a triumphant smirk. "Follow the rules, Rexford, and life gets easier," she called out, her voice smooth but soaked in scorn. I stood there, not out of fear or disbelief, but because I couldn't fathom they'd take it this far. In 19 years as a cop, I've faced all kinds of lowlifes, thieves, reckless drivers, but I never imagined suburban neighbors would dare commit an outright crime over something so petty. You're probably wondering where this all started, right? If so, leave a yes in the comments. If not, just hit that subscribe button. It kicked off 9 days ago when they showed up at my door with a welcome letter laced with a veiled threat. The HOA, or as I call them, the self-crowned tyrants, made it clear that joining their little club was highly recommended, effective immediately. They said it with that fake, syrupy tone that made me want to turn and walk away. They wanted control over everything. My land, my house, even where I parked my bike. I shot them down flat, no second thoughts. Then the fines started rolling in. First, a notice claiming my grass was 1/6 of an inch too tall. Next, another one calling my police motorcycle an unapproved vehicle that needed to be hidden, with a $375 penalty attached. I laughed reading them, then tossed them straight into the trash, where they belonged. I'm not part of their ridiculous club, and they've got no hold over me. Clearly, that ticked them off. Back to that night. The fire crew rolled up 13 minutes later, turning my driveway into a mess of flashing lights and rushing figures dousing the flames. The stench of burnt rubber and molten metal hit me hard. I stood there, arms crossed, silently watching my bike, the one I'd ridden to chase down crooks and help people in trouble, reduced to a heap of blackened scrap. A firefighter I'd met around town walked over, letting out a stunned sigh. "Holy hell, Torrin, what happened here?" I took a deep breath, rubbing the back of my neck to hold back the fury boiling inside. The HOA. He blinked, incredulous. You serious? I didn't answer. Didn't need to. I bit my lip, anger rising by the second. I knew exactly who was behind this. My security cameras caught it all, every single moment. A few hours later, after the flames had died out and left nothing but a pitiful pile of wreckage, I sat in my living room, eyes glued to the screen. My fingers tapped a restless rhythm on the wooden table, each beat like an attempt to release the rage boiling inside me. The black and white security footage played out crystal clear. The Sagebrush Haven HOA board, yep, the whole crew, had crept into my yard in the dead of night. I watched a middle-aged guy, balding with just a few wisps of hair, pour liquid from a plastic can onto my motorcycle, his face showing zero hesitation. Then a woman, the one always trailing Lenora Strathmore like a shadow, struck a match without even blinking. My fists clenched, anger surging until it nearly choked me. There it was, proof. They'd torched a police vehicle, not just any bike, but a state-issued motorcycle from Nevada. A serious crime, an unforgivable one. And the best part? They had no idea who I really was. Sure, they knew I was a cop, probably figured I was just some grumpy patrol guy, but they had no clue I was a state officer, with authority far beyond their little suburban bubble. They didn't realize they'd just committed a federal offense right in front of someone who could bring their whole world crashing down in an instant. I leaned back in my chair, a sly smile tugging at the corner of my mouth. Oh, they dug their own grave this time. The next morning, as the early sun painted the sky with streaks of blazing orange and soft blue, I stood in my yard, arms crossed tight, watching the HOA crowd gather near the community garden for their usual chat. Lenora Strathmore, still flaunting her shiny pearl necklace and power suit like she was running for office, shot me a triumphant glance. Such a shame about your bike, she said, her voice dripping with fake sympathy that made me sick. Maybe next time you'll think about following our rules. I smiled, a slow, calculated smile. Oh, I'll definitely think about it, I replied, my tone light but edged with defiance. In fact, I'd love to have a chat with all of you. Maybe down at the station. She blinked, caught off guard. The station? I pulled my badge from my pocket, flipping it open just enough for the sunlight to catch it and make it glint. Her face changed in an instant. That smug grin froze, her skin paling like her legs might give out. The other board members started backing away, their earlier confidence crumbling like sand slipping through their fingers. That's right, I went on, savoring the panic flickering in her every move. Since you all decided to set fire to state property, I think we need a serious talk, maybe with a few of my colleagues, the ones who specialize in locking up big-time offenders. Strathmore took a step back, then another. The rest of the board stood there, frozen, eyes wide with dread. I let out a short, quiet laugh. See you soon. Then I turned and walked back to my house, leaving them to stew in the growing fear. The fun was just getting started. The HOA started to unravel after that. I could see it in the way they huddled outside Strathmore's place, whispering in frantic, panicked tones. Every now and then, a few of them glanced toward my house, their faces a mix of confusion and terror. I stood on my porch, sipping a hot cup of coffee, feeling a calm satisfaction as I watched their world crack apart piece by piece. The same people who'd laughed, who'd gloated while trashing my stuff, now looked like scared little rats scrambling for an escape. And the best part of all? They still didn't realize how deep they'd buried themselves. For 8 hours last night, I'd gone over that footage again and again, backing up every copy, plotting my next move with precision. This wasn't just about payback, though I'll admit, it felt pretty damn good. This was justice. A lesson for these arrogant, power-hungry fools that the law isn't something they can trample on. They'd been playing neighborhood dictators for too long, enforcing absurd rules and ridiculous fines, thinking no one would dare push back. But this time, they'd picked the wrong guy. By 10 in the morning, my phone rang. It was my buddy from the station, Sam Tillman. He'd watched the video and laughed for a solid 30 seconds before saying, "You mean to tell me those housewives and retired geezers had the guts to torch a state officer's bike? This is going to be fun." Sam promised to handle the paperwork so I could focus on what came next. The HOA meeting was set for 2 in the afternoon. I wasn't about to miss it. After a quick breakfast, I threw on some casual clothes, grabbed my badge, and stepped outside, ready to roll. The meeting took place at the Sagebrush Haven HOA clubhouse, where just last night they'd probably raised their glasses to toast my misery. When I, Torrin Rexford, pushed the door open and stepped inside, the room fell into a heavy silence. The entire board sat there, lined up behind a long, polished wooden table, their eyes fixed on me with a tension that made me feel like a living threat. Lenora Strathmore sat dead center, trying to keep her face calm, but her hand gripped her pen so tight her knuckles turned white, betraying her unease. The others kept their heads down, dodging my gaze. The confidence they'd had when they trashed my property, gone without a trace. "Mr. Rexford," Strathmore finally spoke after a beat, forcing a stiff smile. "What brings you here today?" I walked slowly toward the table, letting the silence stretch out, feeling it weigh on them with every passing second. Then I pulled out my phone, tapped it, and turned the screen toward them. The video played in sharp detail. The balding guy pouring liquid on my bike, the woman glued to Strathmore's side lighting the match, their laughter ringing out, the flames roaring to life. Strathmore's face went pale as paper. Someone behind the table let out a choked, gasping breath. "We need to talk," I said, calm but with an edge of sarcasm I didn't bother hiding. The reaction was instant. The middle-aged guy who'd eagerly doused my bike leapt up, his trembling hand jabbing at me. "This is an outrage," he shouted. "You can't just—" I cut him off, my voice dropping low and icy, the tone I use with lawbreakers. "Sit down." Strathmore took a deep breath, trying to pull herself together. "Mr. Rexford, I'm sure this can all be explained." "Oh, I can't wait to hear it," I shot back, crossing my arms, my anger simmering just below the surface. "Tell me why a bunch of you thought it was fine to torch state property just because I didn't park where you wanted." No one dared speak. I let the silence hang, feeling the panic ripple through the room. "Here's what's going to happen," I went on. "In about 45 minutes, my colleagues will show up at your doors with arrest warrants. I'm not like you, making up rules and slapping people with nonsense fines. I enforce real law. And burning a state officer's bike? That's a big crime. Congrats, you just turned this board into a criminal outfit." The air in the room thickened with fear. One woman clutched her pearl necklace, her breathing quick and shallow, like she might pass out. Another guy was sweating buckets, his shirt soaked through, but Strathmore still tried to salvage it. This is absurd," she stammered, her voice cracking, all her arrogance gone. "It was just a misunderstanding?" I smirked, satisfaction rising inside me. "Right. You accidentally poured liquid on my bike, accidentally set it on fire." She pressed her lips together, scrambling for a comeback. "You're blowing this out of proportion." I leaned in closer, my voice dropping to a quiet, menacing whisper. "Then call my commander. Explain to him why you thought burning a state-issued motorcycle was a great idea. Maybe he'll sympathize. Maybe he won't push for the max penalty." Her composure shattered. Her eyes darted around the room, searching for backup, but no one made a sound. The others shrank back, realizing she'd dragged them into a mess they couldn't escape. Then the door swung open. 2 uniformed officers stepped in. Sam Tillman led the way, grinning ear to ear. "Afternoon, folks," he said, his tone cheerful. "I've got some papers here with your names on them." The room erupted into chaos. A few shouted protests, but they clammed up fast when the handcuffs came out. The pearl necklace woman slumped into her chair, fainting in dramatic fashion. One guy bolted for the door, only to get blocked in a heartbeat. It was like watching a train wreck unfold. Strathmore shot to her feet, her face flushed red with fury. "This is an insult," she yelled. "We're decent people in this community. You can't do this." Sam smirked. "You burned an officer's bike, lady. We absolutely can." One by one, the board members were cuffed and led outside. Some sobbed, others begged, a few shouted for mercy. No one got it. I stood there, watching them get loaded into the police cars, a wave of satisfaction rising inside me. These people had bullied others for 12 long years, acting like they owned the place, handing out fines for petty nonsense, thinking no one would ever touch them. And now, they were just a pack of criminals. Sam clapped me on the shoulder, letting out a big laugh. "I've seen plenty of dummies in this job," he said, "but this takes the cake." I chuckled, a lightness spreading through me. "Yeah," I replied, my eyes following Strathmore as she was shoved into a car, still ranting about injustice. "It really does." When the last car disappeared from sight, I took a deep breath, soaking in the free air all around me. This neighborhood was finally unshackled, and it felt damn good. Sagebrush Haven's quieter now than it's been in 15 years. No more HOA lurking over every tiny detail. Things are settling back into a natural rhythm. People mow their lawns without worrying about fines, park in their own driveways without tickets slapped on their windshields. And best of all, no one's torching state property in the middle of the night anymore. The HOA's reign of absurdity, over, and me, Torrin Rexford, I feel like it was worth it. The trial that followed was something you couldn't miss. The whole state buzzed about it, everyone itching to see how it'd play out. The courtroom was packed on Judgment Day. I had to bite back a laugh when Lenora Strathmore walked in, decked out in her fanciest outfit, strutting like she was heading to a dinner party, not facing felony charges. She still had that signature arrogance, like the law couldn't touch her. But the rest of the board, they were a different story, worn out, pale-faced, their eyes full of late regret. The prosecution didn't hold back. They played the security footage right there for the whole room to see. Every moment was crystal clear. The balding guy pouring the liquid, the woman lighting the match, their smug laughter as the flames roared up. Gasps and murmurs filled the place. The judge paused, rubbing his forehead, like he couldn't believe what he'd just watched. Strathmore tried to spin it as a misunderstanding. She claimed they were just upholding neighborhood standards, that my refusal to cooperate had forced their hand. When that didn't fly, she switched to victim mode, saying they'd been scared of me and the fire was an unintended mistake. The judge cut her off, his patience gone. "So you want me to believe," he said, his voice dropping low, "that 8 grown adults accidentally poured liquid on an officer's bike, accidentally lit it up, then accidentally stood around laughing while it burned?" Strathmore stammered, her prepared excuses falling apart. The judge didn't wait for more, turning to the jury. They took just 20 minutes to decide. Guilty, every last one of them. Sentencing day was even better. Some got probation, hefty fines, and community service. But a few, Strathmore and her inner circle, were headed to prison. She'd been so sure she'd walk away free, but when the handcuffs clicked around her wrists, reality hit her like a brick. The woman who'd once ruled this place was now just another convict being let out of the courtroom. The glee bubbling up inside me, I couldn't hold it back. The fallout was huge. The HOA crumbled overnight, most members either locked up or too ashamed to show their faces. No one bothered keeping it alive. The community held a vote, and in just 3 days, the board was officially dissolved. People celebrated like it was a holiday. Someone even set off fireworks in their backyard, something that would have earned a steep fine 10 days ago. And the best part, all that money they'd wasted on enforcing dumb rules, it's being put to better use now. After some discussion, we decided to turn the old HOA headquarters into a shared space. Not just a basic park, but a real gathering spot, with picnic tables, grills, a place where people can enjoy their own property without getting hassled over fence heights or door colors. I personally oversaw the demolition of that old building. Watching it get leveled was the most satisfying moment I'd had in 7 months. The stacks of fines, the pompous newsletters, the ridiculous mailbox-style rules, all gone. In their place, picnic tables, a barbecue area, and a big sign that reads HOA Free Zone. The meaning behind that change makes me smile. Land that once controlled people now brings them together. The first community barbecue at Sagebrush Haven was a hit, beyond anything I'd expected. Families who'd bickered for 9 years over petty HOA disputes sat around tables, laughing, eating, enjoying the freedom we'd taken back. A few of the officers who'd helped with the arrests stopped by, including Sam Tillman. He glanced up at the sign I'd hung above the grill area and burst out laughing. "You seriously called this the HOA Free Bash?" he asked, grabbing a plate of food, his voice full of amusement. "Damn right," I said, flipping a burger on the grill. "Gotta make sure no one forgets what went down." People started swapping stories about their run-ins with the old HOA. They shared tale after tale of absurd fines and the heavy-handed nonsense from those self-important jerks. One guy said he'd been fined for planting a tree that didn't match their shape rules. Another talked about getting a ticket just because his trash can sat out 5 minutes past pickup time. The more I listened, the more I realized how much they'd endured under that ridiculous control. But now, they were free. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I settled into a chair, feeling a lightness as I watched this community come together in a way I'd never seen before. Kids ran around laughing, neighbors chattered away, and for the first time in 14 months since moving here, I felt like I truly belonged. Then I noticed a new face, a man, about 50, eyeing the barbecue area with curiosity. He strolled over and stuck out his hand. "This place is great," he said. "I just moved in. Name's Nathan." "Torn," I replied, shaking his hand, still buzzing from the vibe around us. He nodded toward the sign. "So, what happened with the old HOA? I let out a soft laugh, my gaze drifting over the relaxed crowd. They ran into some trouble with fire. Nathan chuckled, clearly thinking I was kidding. "Sounds like it's better off without them." "So, you guys ever think about starting a new HOA? You know, something nicer?" I set my drink down, turned to face him square, a sly grin tugging at my lips. "Nathan, I'm gonna pretend I didn't hear that." His face went pale, hands shooting up as he forced an awkward laugh. "Kidding, just kidding." I handed him a plate of barbecue, still feeling a little smug. "Good. Eat up before I change my mind and write you a fine." The night wrapped up with dazzling fireworks, laughter echoing through the air, and a peace this place hadn't known in 6 years. I came to Sagebrush Haven looking for quiet, but what I got was so much better. I found a community worth fighting for. And in the end, that beat any unfined lawn or perfectly measured fence hands down. Sitting there, taking a deep breath, it hit me. I'd won. And that feeling? It filled me with a satisfaction I can't even describe. Imagine stepping out of your house, expecting a peaceful retreat, only to find everything you value burning right in front of you. That's how Torrin Rexford's story started, and it gives me chills thinking about the hidden corners of today's social world. I feel a strange connection. Who hasn't faced someone acting like they own the place, reason be damned? What's amazing is how Torrin turned pain into power, showing me that when you're pushed to the edge, patience and the right moves can flip the game. This is just a story for entertainment and insight, no intent to bash or offend anyone or any group. Have you ever been in a spot like this? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so we can keep the conversation going. Thanks for sticking with this video till the end. Wishing you a peaceful day, and I'll catch you in the next one.